everyone, my name's Khoa and today we're gonna get a little we're gonna read the story, Romeo and Juliet. I think you know the story, so then I'm gonna read this to you. Romeo and Juliet. There's some character in the story. This is old Montage, head of a Montage family, and beside him is Prince Escalus, ruler of Arona, and there got Count Paris, the nobleman, Benvolio, Romeo's cousin, Romeo Montage, and Mercutio, Romeo's friend. And at here we got Fair Lawrence, an old monk, Juliet's mother, Fair John, Fair Lawrence's friend, Old Capulet, head of a Capulet family, Juliet Capulet, Juliet's nurse, and Tybalt, Juliet's cousin. What a lot of characters! It's a warm summer afternoon in a pretty town of Verona. People were busy shopping and chatting in the sunshine when suddenly two gangs of young men tore across the market square, fighting, kicking, and rolling in the dust. The townspeople ran for cover. "Take that! Help!" The gangs belonged to two of Verona's richest families, the Capulets and the Montages. The families were sworn enemies, and they were always fighting. In minutes, Verona's ruler, Prince Escalus, arrived and his soldiers to break up a fight. The prince was furious. "I've had enough of this feud," he ragged. "It got to stop. From now on, anyone caught fighting will be put to death." Uh-oh. Old Montage, the head of a Montage family, hurried into the market square, searching for his son Romeo, but he only found Benvolio, Romeo's cousin. "Where's Romeo? Is he safe?" "Don't worry, uncle," said Benvolio. "Romeo wasn't fighting. He's too sensible." Soon after that, Romeo himself wandered by. Benvolio was telling him that what had happened when someone spoke behind them. "Have you heard? Old Capulet's holding a mass ball tonight." "Did you hear that, Romeo?" whispered Benvolio. "A party at the Capulet's house. Let's go. If we wear disguise, no one will guess who are we." "That's a brilliant idea," Romeo said. Excitedly, the two young Montages went to find their friend Mercutio to invite him along. At the Capulets' mansions, the place was buzzing with excitement. Servants raced around, laying the tables and lighting candles, putting the finished touches to the party. Beautiful. Upstairs, Juliet's Capulet's nurse was helping her dress when Juliet's mother came in. "Now, Juliet," she said. A man named Count Paris is coming tonight. I hope you like him. Your father and I want you to marry him. But Juliet think in her head, but I'm only 13. Oh, Juliet, sweetheart, squealed her nurse. You're to be married. How exciting! Juliet was horrified. She wasn't ready to get married. And what if she didn't like Count Paris? But there was no time to argue. The party was about to start. Straightening her dress, Juliet went down the grand marble staircase to the banqueting hall. A little later, 3 surprise guests arrived. Benvolio and Mercutio wanted to dance, but Romeo stood still. He had spotted a beautiful girl in a pink and cream dress, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. Who's that girl? She's lovely, said Romeo. Juliet's cousin Tybalt recognized the 3 friends and went straight to old Capulet. Uncle, there are Montages here, he declared. Let's kick them out. No, Tybalt, said his uncle. Remember the prince's warning. We don't want to start a fight, he said. Romeo saw the girl leave the hall and followed. Shyly, he went up to her. I don't know who you are, he said, but I've fallen in love with you. You're beautiful. And he kissed her. Ew. Juliet had left the hall to escape from Count Paris. She didn't like Paris at all. But when Romeo kissed her, she felt her heart fluttering. How could her heart fluttering in her body? She fell in love with him at once. Who are you? Juliet murmured. He's Romeo Montage, snapped Juliet's nurse, who had come to look for her. And old Capulet would have a fit if he saw his daughter with a Montage. Come on, she argued, taking Juliet away. Count Paris wants to dance with you. You're Juliet Capulet? Romeo groaned. She's a Capulet? What am I going to do? When the party ended, Romeo sneaked outside and hid with the Capulet's garden. As the moon rose, he saw Juliet step onto the balcony. Oh, Romeo, she sighed, it's you I love. If only you weren't a Montage. Juliet? Romeo called to her. I'm here in the garden, and I love you. You do? Said Juliet. With all my heart, Romeo replied. I'd marry you if I could, but my parents are going to make me marry Count Paris, Juliet wailed. She frowned. Our only hope is to get married in secret, she said at last. Then we will, said Romeo. I asked my nurse to help us, Juliet declared. Send me a message tomorrow. I will, Romeo promised. But now I better go. Goodbye, Juliet. The next morning, Romeo went to visit Fair Lawrence. The fair was a wise monk who made medicine and helped people with problems. Wow, how wise. What can I do for you, Romeo? Fair Lawrence asked. I'm in love with Juliet Capulet, Romeo explained. I know our parents won't like it, but we really want to get married. Then I help you, the fairy said kindly. When your parents find out you're married, it might help stop the fighting. If you both come to my house this afternoon, I marry you in secret. Romeo was delighted. He ran to the market square to find Juliet's nurse and gave her the message. The nurse rushed off to tell Juliet that Romeo had said she hated to see her beloved Juliet unhappy. Fair Lawrence will marry you this afternoon. Juliet couldn't stop smiling. I tell my parents I'm going to see the fair about my wedding to Count Paris, she declared. As the clock struck 2, Juliet arrived at Fair Lawrence's house. Romeo was waiting for her, and her fair performed the secret wedding at once. You are now husband and wife, Lawrence said. Romeo and Juliet were married, but Juliet's parents were expecting her back, and she had to go straight home. So Romeo went to look for Benvolio and Mercutio. He found them in the market square, arguing with Tybalt Captain. What's the problem? Romeo asked. Your Majesties are the problem, snared Tybalt, turning to Romeo. You sneaked into our party, and I'm going to make you pay. I challenge you to a duel. I refuse, Romeo replied. You know the prince said no fighting. You're afraid to fight, Tybalt told him. Coward, he shouted. Don't speak to my friend like that, said Mercutio. Oh, so you want to fight instead, do you? Tybalt shouted, drawing his sword. Mercutio drew his too, and they started fighting. Stop it! Yelled Benvolio. He and Romeo frantically tried to pull the pair apart. They were too late. Tybalt stabbed Mercutio, who slumped to the ground, dead. Oh no! Romeo was so upset he grabbed Mercutio's sword. Without thinking, he ran at Tybalt and stabbed him too. Benvolio stared in honor as Tybalt sank to the ground. Romeo, what have you done? He gasped. Quick, before the prince comes. Romeo dropped the sword and ran for his life. When Prince Aeschylus arrived, Benvolio told him about the fight. The prince was angry, but he could see Tybalt was mostly to blame. Romeo shall not die, he said. I banish him instead. Being banished meant Romeo would have to leave Verona and never come back. It was better than being put to death, but not much. Oh no, poor Juliet, said Juliet's nurse. Gossip spread fast in Verona, and the nurseroom heard that what had happened. With tears in her eyes, she went to tell Juliet. Juliet was heartbroken. Cousin and Tybalt is dead, she sobbed, and I never see my Romeo again. Don't cry, begged the nurse. I bring Romeo to see you before he leaves. He's hiding at the fair's house. Yes, please find him, Juliet said, wiping her eyes. asked him to come and say goodbye. The nurse went straight to the fair's house. Romeo looked as if he'd been crying too. "Romeo, you should be grateful," said Fair Lawrence. "The prince was spared your life, but I'm banished," Romeo said, "and I want to be with Juliet." "Go and see her tonight," said the fair, "but make sure you leave Verona by dawn. Head for the city of Mantua. After a while, I talked to the prince. I asked him to forgive you and let you come home." The nurse smiled at Romeo. And I tell Juliet you're on your way." That night, Romeo went again to Caplet's garden and climbed up the ivy to Juliet's balcony. "Juliet! Romeo!" But before dawn, Romeo had to leave. "It's not time yet," Juliet pleaded. Romeo sighed. Giving his new wife one last kiss, he climbed down the balcony, sped from the garden, and set off for Mantua. All that morning, Juliet cried and cried. Her nurse tried to comfort her, but she couldn't stop. Suddenly, her mother and father swept in. "Poor Juliet," said her mother, going over to her. "You're still upset about Tybalt, but this will cheer you up. You're to marry Count Paris. The wedding on Thursday." "Thursday?" Juliet gasped. "It was too soon. I don't want to marry Count Paris. Please don't make me." Her father scowled. "I won't marry him," Juliet shouted. "No, no, no." "What do you mean, no?" said her father angrily. "You marry Count Paris on Thursday, and that's that." And her parents left. "But I'm already married," wept Juliet. "What am I going to do?" "Well, you can't tell about your parents about Romeo," said the nurse. "I think you have to marry Count Paris," she added. The nurse bustled away, and Juliet realized only one person could help her. "I must go and see Fair Lawrence," she thought. Fair Lawrence was planting herbs in his garden when Juliet arrived. "Oh, Fair, please help me," she begged. "My father said I have to marry Count Paris on Thursday." "But you can't," said the Fair. "You have to help." Juliet was desperate. "I'd rather die than marry Paris. Is there anything you can do?" The Fair thought for a while. "Well," he said finally, "there's one thing that it might work." "What is it?" she said. "I give you magical herbal poison," the Fair said. "When you drink it, you go in a coma. Your body will be cold and it will look as if you're dead. But really you just be in very deep sleep, which will last for 2 days. Drink the poison tonight in the morning. In the morning, your parents will find you and think you're dead. They'll put your body in the Caplet's family tomb while they arrange your funeral." "Then what?" asked Juliet. "I sent a message to Mantua to tell Romeo the plan," the Fair went on. "2 nights from now, you'll wake up. Romeo can come to Verona and rescue you, and you can run away together." "I do it," said Juliet bravely. She held the bottle in trembling hand. "Thank you, Fair Lawrence." Clutching the poison tightly. She turned and ran home. Back at the Caplet's mansions, Juliet went to talk her parents. "I'm sorry I was rude to you," she said sweetly. "I was upset about Tybalt. Of course I married Count Paris on the first day." "Good girl," said her mother. "We knew you'd see sense. He's such a nice man." That night, Julia sat on her bed. Carefully, she uncorked the bottle Fair Lawrence had given her and drank every last drop of a bitter poison. She think, "I hope this works." A few moments later, she fell into a deep, deep sleep. It was just a fair the fair had promised. The next morning, Juliet's nurse found her cold body lying on the bed and screamed, "She's dead! Juliet's dead!" "There'll be no wedding for my daughter," said old Caplet, trying to hold back his tears. "Instead, we must prepare for a funeral, carry her body to a family tomb." Meanwhile, Fair Lawrence wrote a letter to Romeo, explaining everything. He sealed up the letter and gave it to his friend, Fair John, to deliver. "This letter must reach Romeo tomorrow. Hurry to Mantua. I leave now." But the news spread fast. Soon, people for miles around had heard about Juliet's death. In Mantua, a servant told Romeo that Caplet's daughter had died. "No! Oh, Juliet, my Juliet! I go back to Verona and find Juliet in the tomb," Romeo sobbed. "Then I lie beside her and drink the poison, so I die too. That way we can be together." Romeo went to find an apothecary. "I need the strongest poison you have," he said. "You can't buy poison in Mantua. It's against the law." The man told him, but Romeo saw he was poor and offered him with 40 gold coins. The apothecary quickly handed over a tiny bottle. "One sip of this could kill 20 men. Be careful." Romeo put the poison in his bag. He headed for Verona as fast as his horse can carry him. By the time Fair John arrived in Mantua, Romeo has already left, so the fair sent up back to Verona without delivering the letter. Late that night, Romeo arrived in Verona. He crept into Caplet's house and found the entrance to see the tomb. But someone else was already there. "Count Paris, what are you doing near Montage?" demanded Count Paris. "Juliet is dead because of you. You killed her cousin Tybalt, and she died of grief." "That's not true," Romeo cried. "I love her more than you did." "You're trespassing," snapped the Count, drawing his dagger. "Get out!" he lunged at Romeo. Romeo drew his dagger too and fought back. Count Paris gasped and fell to his knees, dying. "Oh, I'm slain!" he cried. Romeo stepped over the body and went to find Juliet. She was lying inside, as cold as the stone beneath her. Romeo took her hand and wept white as he kissed her cheek. She still looked so beautiful, almost as she not dead at all. Back at Fair Lawrence's house, Brother John had returned. I went to Mantua, but I couldn't deliver the message, he announced. Romeo wasn't there. Fair Lawrence felt sick, but Juliet will wake up alone in the tomb, he said. I must rescue her. And he rushed from his house, heading toward the Caplet's tomb. In the tomb, Romeo took out his bottle of poison. He drank it all, lay down beside Juliet and kissed her one last time. First with a kiss, I die. The poison worked fast. In a few moments, Romeo stayed still. Not long after that, Juliet awoke. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. Where am I? She wondered. Then she remembered the magic poison and Fair Lawrence's plan. Romeo, she called. Oh no, she cried as she saw his body. She noticed the poison bottle in his hand and shook his shoulders. He didn't stir. Juliet realized what he'd done. Oh, Romeo, he sobbed. I can't live without you. I kissed your lips and poisoned myself too. Just then she heard a noise. Someone was coming. Juliet grabbed Romeo's dagger. Before anyone could arrive to stop her, she plugged it into her heart and collapsed on top of Romeo. Fair Lawrence burst into the tomb, followed by soldiers and servants. They were too late. Romeo and Juliet were dead. The first among the Caplets and Montages and Prince Achilles and told them the whole sad story. The prince turned to the two families. See what your hatred was done, he said. Romeo and Juliet have paid the price for your field. Old Caplet and old Montage agreed to bury Romeo and Juliet side by side, wiping away their tears. They promised that their family would never fight again. It do be a story of good and fun with love, but I'm sad that they got a sad ending though. Never mind. I think it's enough today. Goodbye everyone. Got a happy day. Bye bye.